The train, for its type, is the most powerful vehicle on land. And the engines of Sodor are the power behind the docks, industries and branch lines that make up the world-renowned Northwestern Railway. These are the stories of Sodor. As strange as this may sound, the one redeeming quality I can say about Arthur's ghost is that he wasn't violent. When I think about it, all he really did was give us a good scare. Granted, a woman was driven mad when she dared to look inside his coaches, but I think that was more bad luck than anything else. If he intended to cause havoc, I think he would have. My point is that his haunting was nowhere near as devastating as Dominic's was. That spiteful brake van not only murdered an innocent man and broke the mind of another, he also caused a horrific accident that saw Peter laid up at Crewe for 6 months. As I said last time, Mr. Zorro needed a replacement goods engine, and he found one, whom Henry and I would have the displeasure of meeting when he returned to Sodor.
So I hear France and Germany have signed a non-attack treaty. I don't mind telling you, that's really put my mind at ease.
You, me and the rest of the nation, old chap.
You think this means war might be averted entirely?
That might be a bit premature. After all, we can't ignore the hardline policies of the Nazis, but I think it's a step in the right direction.
Who's that?
Oh no.
What?
I know that whistle.
Ah, Edward, Henry, hello. Good to see you both again.
Oh, cinders and ashes. Don't tell me you're filling in for Peter, Geoffrey.
Yes, I am. And I am delighted to be back on Sodor. Well, you'll be the only one. Don't expect a warm welcome from us or your own crew. I am not. Their contempt and yours is well earned.
So, you acknowledge what you did?
Of course. I'd be a fool if I didn't. In fact, I am glad that I found you so early on, Henry. I want to apologize for what I did to you during my last visit. It was a despicable action, one I take full responsibility for. Alright. I wasn't expecting that, nor did I expect to give this apology so soon. I hope you'll accept it, but if you don't, I fully understand. Anyway, I best get moving. I have many more apologies to make while I am here. So, what do you think?
I'm not sure. It does seem like a rapid turnaround.
Aye. Then again, I heard he got 30 days at Railgate.
I'm sure that gives an engine ample time to think. Long enough to change an engine entirely?
I guess we'll find out soon enough.
So, what are we doing here, Diesel?
For the 8th time, Colin. I don't know. The station master said he got a call from Mr. Zorro telling us to wait here, so we're waiting. It better be important. There's work that needs doing, and without Peter, we're going to have a hard time of it. Too right, Colleen.
You think maybe it's about Peter?
What did I just say about not knowing anything?
So I finally got you to admit it.
Wait, what? Did you just...
Grrr!
I swear, you two are worse than... What's wrong?
Up ahead!
Hello, everyone. How delightful to see you all again. Jeffrey? No need to be alarmed, Diesel. I'm not here for revenge. You'll understand if we don't believe that. Yes, I do. Why are you here? Mr. Zorro told me what happened to Peter. So he got you to do his job? Is he off his nut or something? No, he isn't. Oh, just my luck. Yes, just your luck you questioned your boss's judgment while he was within earshot. Not that your opinion matters in this case, Diesel. But sir, I thought the coppers sent him inside. They did. He served his time, and I've brought him in because we'll need the help. I had thought you would appreciate the assistance of another engine. Sir, with respect, don't you remember what this one did? Of course I do. I'm not trying to deny it. And given what he said to Henry at Vickerstown just now, neither is he. What he said to Henry, he apologized for his actions. And I trust he can do it again. Indeed, sir. Diesel, Colleen, I am dreadfully sorry for involving you in my disgraceful scheme to sabotage the Nor'easters. I especially apologize to you, Colleen, for threatening you with retaliation. I want to assure you I have no such intent now. That's a relief to hear. And I guess I could have said no when you told me what you planned to do. And it's not like I haven't done stupid things on my own. Does that mean you can forgive me? I don't see why not. Me neither. We're all middies here. Oh, thank you so much. You Sudrians are the best lot in Britain. So right. Yes, we're all friends again, and all is right with the world. Hooray, hooray, hooray. Now, if we're done faffing about, it's time to get to work on the double. Winter is coming.
Despite his melodrama, the Middies director was right. The date of Jeffrey's return was December 7th, 1938. Typically, the snow started to fall over Sodor around the middle of the month, and every year, the island's various industries and businesses would go into a tizzy as they tried desperately to get their goods out before the weather could shut them down. We always hated this time, as we would be worked off our wheels, as we would be rendered tired and irritable from these frenzied jobs. Thomas would have a particularly hard time of it this year, and I don't just mean because he had to largely clear the Enofa quarry of its remaining stone.
Hoo! Hoo! Bust my buffers! I'm knackered!
I'm sorry to hear that, Thomas.
Are you tired? Even just a little bit?
No, I can do this all day.
How do you manage that, Clive? Being able to work for so long and so hard.
Gumption and commitment.
That's it?
That's it. That's all an engine needs to have a long, fulfilling career. Kuh, it's such a pity those qualities are sorely lacking in today's youth.
Oi!
Present company accepted. But this generation certainly is growing up soft.
Are you going to tell us another story about life back before the light bulb?
Do you want to hear one?
If I had an extra 10 hours to spare, maybe.
Get on out of here, you young whippersnapper. Those trucks won't deliver themselves.
Okay, I'll pop on down to the harbour and be right back.
See you soon, Thomas.
What the? All right. So, that happened. Thomas, are you okay? I'm fine. You? We're all good here. Blimey, what happened? There was a leaking barrel of oil next to the track. What? Who'd be daft enough to put a leaky barrel there? Probably the same twit who switched the points to this blooming line. Someone's going to answer for this. You can be sure of that. I hope so. Bust my buffers. The day started out so well too. As always, Mickey was swift to respond and fish Thomas out of the water. He was thoroughly examined on site, and thankfully he hadn't suffered any serious damage. This examination also turned up a toad idling about inside his cab. We all had a good laugh about it, but it didn't last. Joey had also responded quickly and had conducted a preliminary investigation into the incident. To Thomas, Percy and I, he relayed his disturbing findings. First, that the points had been tampered with to send our number one down the wrong line. Second, the barrel had been punctured so that the oil would drain all over the track. And third, said barrel had come from a shipment that James had delivered to the Mid-Sodor Railway. All right, James. So run through the events as they happened when you delivered that shipment. It was Monday, around 11:30 when I arrived. It took about half an hour for the workmen to unload my train. After that, I left for the dairy at Tidmouth. And you were the one who collected those barrels, Stuart? Yes, Inspector. Did anything unusual happen that day? Fights? Accidents? Anything of that nature? No, nothing. Did either of you notice anyone lingering around the yard? Someone who didn't belong? No. The manifest says you delivered those barrels to King Ori's Bridge, Stuart. Did anything happen up there? No, nothing. I see. I'm sorry I couldn't be more helpful, Inspector. Me neither. Don't worry, lads. You can't tell me what you don't know. Will you be heading to King Ori's Bridge any time today, Stuart? Yes. This train, as a matter of fact, is heading there. Perfect. These constables will ride along with you. They'll poke around the town and maybe find us a lead. I have a lead for you, Inspector, and its name is Geoffrey. As much as I hate to say it, James, I don't think he could be behind such an elaborate scheme when he's only just returned to Sodor. However, a good detective never assumes, and I will question him about this. You better get moving, Stuart. Sabotage is a serious crime that requires a swift investigation. Yes, Inspector. I'm on my way. Oi, Stuart! Why are there coppers on your train? Perhaps he's decided to turn you in, Falcon. Shut up, Andreas. But seriously, why are they here? It's because of that accident Thomas had near Farquhar. Turns out one of those barrels I delivered here the other day was used to make it happen. Really? That's alarming. Tell me about it. Do either of you know anything that could help? Sorry, I don't. Nor do I. A rare thing indeed that I should be ignorant about something. That's probably for the best, Andreas. Why? Because if you'd had an idea that led to an arrest, we'd never hear the end of it. Oh, why do I put up with you two? Oh my. What a horrible turn of events that this should happen to me. I'm fine, by the way, in case you're wondering. Of course, Murray. I am relieved to hear it. I will be equally relieved when I discover the name of the prat who switched the points to that blasted siding. First things first, we need to get this whole ordeal sorted. Indeed. Do I dare suppose that the lucky lamp is on the fritz?
In some ways, I would have to say no. After all, it can only be described as incredibly lucky that nobody was seriously hurt. The recovery operation also went very well, as did Andreas's subsequent repairs. An investigation into the accident was undertaken, and sure enough, the cause was determined to be another set of sabotaged points. This led the police to issue a warning to all engines to keep their eyes open for any suspicious activity about the trackside. Points were randomly checked and the authorities conducted sweeps of the line. But I'm sorry to say that despite their efforts and ours, it wouldn't be enough. It was early one morning a week later when it happened. By then, Sodor was covered in snow and its various industries were forced to shut down for the season. However, this year, the ice wouldn't be so thick upon the island's waterways, so shipping wasn't overly affected. At Knapford Harbour, the workers were taking full advantage of this. A large shipment of fish had come in. Some was delivered to nearby towns and shops by lorry, but most of it was loaded aboard a special train the railwaymen had long called the Flying Kipper. It had always been Henry's job to take the Kipper to the mainland because he had such an excellent record pulling it. That would change with this run.
All right, off we go!
I know it's a stupid question, Henry, but are you all right?
I've been better, sir. I'm in a lot of pain, and I'm mighty confused. What was a train doing parked on the main line?
The back half of a goods train being pulled by Donald broke away. He alerted the next signal box he passed, and the signalman there contacted his peer at Kildane.
But the signal was down, sir.
I think it's a safe bet the saboteur has struck again. And now he's graduated to murder.
Murder? My crew?
No, they jumped clear. Apart from a couple of broken bones, they're fine.
There was a guard on that brake van I crashed into, wasn't there?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Henry, I'm ordering you not to blame yourself. Nobody does, and nobody will. Our contempt is reserved for the mongrel behind this catastrophe, and I'm heading back to Kildane right now to see exactly what he did. What do you mean, nothing? With respect, sir, I don't know how much clearer I can be. This wasn't sabotage. Are you absolutely sure? Positive, sir. Ice and snow forced the signal down. There's really nothing criminal here. It was just extremely bad luck. That's a profound understatement. I honestly don't know if that makes the situation better or worse. I also don't know how many people are going to accept this. Indeed, very few people on Sodor could accept it. It just didn't seem plausible that a legitimate accident could happen hot on the heels of two connected acts of sabotage. The papers lapped it up, practically reveling in the fact that someone had been killed. And in one of life's little ironies, the media's sensationalism is what ended this ordeal. Among the made to believe the saboteur had become a murderer was his mistress, who turned him in to the police. When Mr. Starr informed us of this arrest, our relief was tempered by shock as it was revealed the man was a very dishevelled Jacob Burke, as in Burke and Blair. If you remember from a previous story of mine, this obnoxious busybody from the LNER's head office had an affair while on Sodor. The fallout from this scandal lost him his wife and his job. He blamed the island for his downfall and wanted revenge. Returning to the embrace of his lover, he set about enacting it. As a former signalman, he knew how to sabotage the points, and from the garage his lover worked at, he procured a barrel of petrol. For his actions, he was sentenced to life in prison, while his mistress was given 15 years for harbouring him. While we were satisfied with the results, we couldn't help but realise the fact it wasn't going to undo the damage that had been done. But then, I suppose it was far better for justice to be done than not at all. Henry's accident with the flying kipper was by far the worst to ever happen to us nor'easters up to that point. The men at Croven's Gate did their best to fix him, but he would require more extensive repairs. So arrangements were made to transfer him to the LNER's workshop at Darlington. On the day this was to take place, Donald stopped by the works to visit our number 3. "Oh, Henry, I'm so sorry about this."
What for? It wasn't your fault.
"Yes, it was. It was the back half of my train you crashed into.
And if you'd done it on purpose, I probably would blame you. But you didn't, and I don't. The only thing I blame for the crash is the wretched snow for forcing that signal down. But I still feel guilty for killing one of your guards in the crash."
Take your own advice, Henry. You didn't do it on purpose, so you're blameless for his death.
What was his name?
Michael Creedy.
Did he have a family?
Aye, a wife and 2 boys.
You might not blame me, Donald, but I'm willing to bet they will.
No, they won't. His wife's not a vindictive woman, and his wee lads, they're smart enough to understand.
If you see them, can you tell them how sorry I am?
I will. Don't you fret. I'm sorry I can't stick around any longer, Henry, but I've got a goods train to pick up at Barrow.
I understand. Work must go on. Thank you so much for stopping by, Donald. It's really appreciated.
It was the least I could do.
Actually, the least you could have done was nothing.
Too true. Anyway, I best be off. Take care of yourself, Henry.
You too, lad.
I swear, officer, I didn't know what was in that crate. No one's accusing you, Francis. I need you to calm down and answer a few questions. Did you happen to see who handled that particular crate? Not really. It just looked like an ordinary crate to me. Once it was loaded aboard yourself, did anyone come back to check on it? No, sir. Do you know if anyone, trucks or workers, have been approached about transporting illicit goods? Well, yes. There's a rumour going around that one of the workmen is on the take, but I don't know who. Interesting. Thank you, Francis. I'll be sure to investigate this further. Goodness, Whiff! What's going on? The coppers found something on board that train. What sort of something? Since their dog is going off, I'm guessing it's not soap. Ark! Bloomin' smugglers! They're a blight upon the world. Tell me about it. How do you suppose they sleep at night? Quite well, I imagine. I mean, if they had any morals, they wouldn't be in that line of work. Then it's a good thing engines like Joey are fighting back against those prats. Indeed. I just hope it'll be enough. For as long as there have been railways, there have been those seeking to exploit them for good and bad reasons. Smuggling had always been a problem, as trains can obviously go further and carry more cargo than most other vehicles. Most of the time, it was as simple as passengers hiding a small package on themselves or in their luggage. Then, there were the cases of rolling stock being altered, of having extra compartments designed to hold larger items. It also wasn't unheard of for the smugglers to have railwaymen on their payroll. And following the thieving incident with Wendell, the Railway Security Directorate began cracking down on smuggling. Huge rings were broken up and many arrests were made. This forced the smugglers to become more creative in their law-breaking. Could you run that by me again, Inspector? They coated the blades in wax and tried to pass them off as large candles. Really? Phew! I don't know whether to be impressed or disturbed by such ingenuity. Me neither. My men are questioning the ship's crew, and I would like to start among your staff as well, Mr. Zorro. What for? This ship dropped its cargo here, sir. It's possible they were working with someone in port. Like the harbour staff? Wouldn't that make more sense? That's an avenue we will also investigate. But with all due respect, sir, you can't deny the checkered history your company has had. We would never dare dabble in smuggling. Then you have nothing to worry about, do you? No. But I suppose it's pointless arguing with you about it. Then we can count on your cooperation? You can. My staff are at your disposal. Good. Because there's one I'd like to question immediately. Who? No, sir. I don't know anything about wax-coated blades. Really? Because I checked the manifest, and you were scheduled to take the train they were found on. How do you explain that? I can't, sir. So it's pure coincidence that an engine who spent a month in Railgate for various crimes is tasked with taking a train transporting stolen articles? Yes, sir. It is. I have no control over the schedules. Indeed. I'm the one who organizes it. And I assure you, neither myself or Jeffrey know anything about that shipment's ill-gotten cargo. I see. Well, thank you for your cooperation, gentlemen. Happy to help, sir. I'm available whenever you need me for further questioning. Thank you, Jeffrey. Do you want to grill any more of my engines, Inspector? No. But I would like to question the one called Diesel. Tell me something, Mr. Zorro. With his record, why on earth have you held on to him? Because he's a good worker. When he's not lobbing vans at rival engines? He should be over by the Eastern Piers. Follow me. Well, he had some nerve accusing you, Jeffrey. His suspicions are hardly unfounded, Reginald. What exactly do you mean by that? I mean, if I were investigating a crime,
An ex-convict would most likely be my first suspect too. You've done your time, and you've been a moral engine ever since. Perhaps, but that doesn't eliminate the stigma of being a crook, no matter how much you accomplish after getting out. When you put it like that, it makes me wonder why anyone would ever become a criminal. I can't speak for everyone, but for me, it was pure ego. The belief that I could do anything and get away with it. And for the longest time, that was the case. It was inevitable I was going to get caught. If you had known, would you have stopped? I don't know. Probably not. But I'm glad I was. Railgate was an experience I sorely needed. It gave me the incentive to never go back to a life of crime. Phew, and they say imprisonment doesn't work.
You lads hear about those blades they found at Brendam yesterday? Yes. What a surprise the middies were involved. Phew. I don't understand how the railway board can allow such shoddy engines to continue working on Sodor. I know. Why the Fat Controller didn't give them the boot is beyond me. I hate to say it, lads, but maybe that was for the best. How do you figure? Well, this island may be small, but I doubt 8 of us would be enough to run the whole thing. But if the LNER was given complete control, we'd get more engines, Percy. If that happened, I can guarantee 2 things. 1, there wouldn't be anywhere near the amount of crime on the rails. And 2, stupid accidents like the one Henry was in could be avoided. Be fair, James. That could have happened to anyone. It could have been caused by anyone. But it wasn't, and it didn't. Now Mr. Starr has to call in a replacement for Henry while he's at Darlington. When's he meant to arrive? Today, apparently. I was to take him to Knapford. That might be him now. How do, lads? My name's Winston. Hi, Winston. Welcome to Sodor. I'm Thomas, this is Percy and James. Nice to meet you all. I was told to report to you, Thomas. Yeah, I'm to take you on to Knapford. Tops. Say, before we head off, I'd like to ask a question if I may. Do you have an engine named Edward working for you? Yes, we do. You wouldn't be the Winston who worked with him on the Furness Railway, would you? I would. You've heard of me? Edward's told us stories. I should have guessed. He always did enjoy a good yarn. What did he say specifically? That you were the backbone for the Furness Railway, being its goods engine and all. Oh, he's always been a good sort. I can't wait to see him. He might be up at Knapford right now. If we get going, you can see him soon. That'd be great. Lead on, Thomas. Okay then, follow me. Nice meeting you two. I look forward to working with you. What's the matter, Eric? You look rather pensive. No, I was just thinking. Why hasn't Mr. Starr ever had me pull coaches? I don't know, old chap. Do you want to pull coaches? I'd like to give it a go. It can be pretty boring just taking trucks all the time. Maybe he doesn't think I'd be any good at passenger trains. More likely, he doesn't know you're interested. If you tell him you are, I'm sure he'll let you try your buffer at it.
What if he says no?
Then he says no. That's the worst that can come of it. But I think it more likely he'll be impressed by your ambition. And if you prove you're capable of handling goods and passenger trains, you'll become that much more useful to him.
Do you think I'd be any good at it?
With the right instruction, I think so.
Right instruction? How difficult could it be?
I said the exact same thing when I was learning to handle goods trains for the first time. It is very different, Eric. But if you lean on our experiences, you'll do very well. Thomas is a great teacher, so I'd start with him. Here he comes now, so why don't... What the...
What's wrong, Edward?
It can't be.
Hey up, Edward, me old mucker. How are you?
I don't believe it! Winston? What are you doing here? He's Henry's replacement, Edward. Well, bust my boiler. This is a surprise.
Especially for me. If I hadn't approached you from the front, I'd have never picked it was you, Edward. What with that fancy paint job and all.
I see you haven't changed your coat since we last saw each other. Still opting for the Furness red, eh?
Furness, and proud of it.
Too true, old chap. It's going to be wonderful having you here. We have so much to catch up on. But, as it tends to be with most things, business had to come before pleasure. As I said last time, the ice wouldn't be so thick on Sodor's waterways this winter, so shipping remained largely unaffected. This ensured we were kept busy throughout the season. Needless to say, Winston was a tremendous help. He got along with everyone, even a couple of the middies. I'm pleased to say he and I also had ample time to talk about the old days, sharing these reminiscences with the rest of the lads. Indeed, we rang in the new year on a very high note. Morning, chaps. Good morning, Homer. How was your new year?
Before or after I lost 200 quid?
200 quid? Are you having us on?
I wish I was.
How did you... You know what? Never mind. That doesn't matter. Blimey, Homer. I thought you had it under control.
I did. But I figure it being New Year, why not let loose a bit?
Because you can't control yourself when you get started. You've dug yourself in deep this time, mate. Since you're still walking about, I'm guessing you haven't told Marge.
No, but I'll have to.
She's going to leave me for sure this time. I know it. That's if you're lucky. If not, this might be the last time we see you breathing. What am I going to do? Start praying, mate. Start praying hard. What am I going to tell Marge and the kids? How about nothing? Crikey! Who in blazes are you? Someone willing to help you with your current predicament. £200 is quite the substantial debt. How did you... Wait, I know you. You work at the yard. And I've made a tidy bundle because of it. You have? How? By working for me, of course. I would like to offer you the same opportunity. What sort of opportunity? £300 for a day's work? £300? Doing what? Delivering a few packages. That's all. Packages of what? You don't need to know. On second thoughts, I think I'll pass. Very well. Give my regards to your lovely wife and your 3 adorable children. When's the delivery? Tomorrow. My associate here will slip my cargo into the yard. You will then load it aboard your train and escort it to its destination at the harbour. There, you will be greeted by another associate of mine, who will take it from there. Understood? Yes. Good. Welcome aboard. Good morning, partner. Don't call me that. I'll lighten up. Where's the package? It's in the 5th van from the front. I've marked the crate with an X. Will anyone else on the train know what's going on? Maybe the engine and their crew? Or maybe no one. I don't know. He doesn't tell me much. Then how am I going to deliver the crate at the harbour? Someone will approach you and ask if the train is carrying any special items. You'll tell them where the crate is. Once they've taken it, they'll pay you, and you go about your business. Simple as that. Just how long have you been doing this? Long enough to afford a summer home in Jamaica? You're joking. Nope. This little sideline is very profitable. If you stick with it, you'll never have to worry about losing your home or your wife to that little gambling habit of yours. I'm only going to do this once, and then I'm out. Yeah. Keep telling yourself that, mate. Well, the train went out on time, Gov. Are you sure he's up to the task? He's too desperate to not see it through. I hope so, because my associates wish to bring in a large quantity of the product and will require a secure route for transportation. I'm sure if you offer the same rate, plus a little extra, he'll be too happy to oblige. Well, maybe not happy, but he'll still do it. You seem awfully sure about that. My old man was a compulsive gambler. Trust me, they can't stop. I will pass on your advice to my associates. If they agree, we can begin next week. Police! Don't move! What? Gentlemen, you're under arrest for smuggling, distribution of narcotics, larceny, bribery, and extortion. Bother. Tomsky, go tell Joey he can intercept that train now. Right, Sarge. Typical. I was making excellent time and a middy fouls it up. Why do you assume this is my fault? Because any engine depraved enough to conspire against the Flying Scotsman is almost certain to have a role in any act of wrongdoing. How many times must I apologize for that? As many as needed. If you can be bothered to remove your smokebox from your tender for a moment, you will notice I too have been shunted. Which is fortunate, because ignorance irritates me. And I can now ask you in person what you have done. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Like you had nothing to do with those wax-coated blades? There is coincidence, and then there is complicity. I am complicit in nothing. We shall see.
What's the matter, Joey?
This train is suspected of carrying illegal narcotics. I need you to uncouple at once and come with me, Gordon. Excuse me! Officer, there must be a mistake. No mistake, Gordon. Earlier today, we apprehended 2 men we've had under observation for drug trafficking. One of them has already confessed to his part in the crime and admitted he smuggled something on board your train. Are you sure it was my train? Not one being hauled by a certain red locomotive from a certain disreputable company? One who has known the hospitality of Railgate Prison? Yes, Gordon. The suspect also admitted to enlisting the assistance of your guard. You mean Homer? Indeed. As you can see, my men have placed him under arrest, and we are currently executing a search of the van in which the narcotics are supposedly stashed. I don't believe it. Well, even if my guard was complicit in this crime, I was not. Unfortunately, Gordon, as an officer of the law, I can't just take your word for it. I still need you to come with me. This is preposterous! I have never once been in trouble with the law. And what? That excuses you from questioning or suspicion? Everyone has the capacity for law-breaking. Was it unpleasant? It's always unpleasant losing your home, Percy. You don't have to tell it if you don't want to. I could do it, Edward. No, I will. It needs to be said. And this was the story I told. Furness is an area of Cumbria, located in northwestern England. And between 1844 and 1907, it was serviced by the Furness Railway. Most of the engines who ran on it were non-faceless, with the exception of myself, Winston, and a shunter named Albert. At its height, the FR owned or worked on over 190 miles of track. This kept us plenty busy. Albert, Winston and I mostly worked around the city of Dalton, which was relatively close to Barrow. As a passenger engine, I frequently made trips to this station, which was but a stone's throw away from Sodor. In fact, something I haven't mentioned before is that I knew Neil, Clive and Matthew since before coming to the island, as did Winston, who often ran goods trains to and from Barrow. Albert mostly acted as the station pilot for Dalton, but he also worked on the small branch line of Scarborough that ran west of the yard. On this branch was the Parker Brothers coal mine, which provided cheap coal for the FR, making it an invaluable business partner. It was on March 13, 1907, when Albert returned to the yard with a delivery of coal. There, he found Winston and myself discussing a recent event in Russia. So they've gone ahead and convened a second Duma, have they? And I hear it's off to a roaring start, with 40,000 demonstrators having to be dispersed by the army. Honestly, what do those people expect? It only just started. Did they think it would introduce sweeping reforms that very day? Perhaps they wanted to show the Tsar that they want to keep this one. I highly doubt Nicholas II will be intimidated by a mass of unwashed workers. If he wasn't intimidated, he wouldn't have set up a Duma in the first place, would he? Touché, Winston. What are you two talking about? Oh, hello, Albert. We're just discussing the situation in Russia. A new Duma's been established. Isn't that the thing people put over their beds? That's a duvet. Oh, then what's a Duma? It's the Russian equivalent of Parliament, a People's Parliament, which is something they didn't have before. And this is the second one? What happened to the first? The Tsar abolished it because he didn't like its suggestions. They demanded too much, Winston. The release of political prisoners, the empowerment of trade unions, and land reforms. That's too much, Edward. In the time frame they demanded, yes. True, lasting change is a gradual process that cannot be rushed. Well, the Tsar better get a move on this one, or mark my words, he'll lose his crown. I don't think that's likely. Not while he's got the support of the army behind him. For now, you mean? You might want to table this discussion for now, lads. Here comes the Gov. Good morning, engines.
Good morning, Mr. Pettigrew.
I have a very important announcement to make. As you know, we have long enjoyed a fruitful partnership with the neighbouring Midland and Sodor and Mainland Railways. Recently, I have been in touch with the executives of these companies about the possibility of a merger, unifying all three into a single railway. What a good idea, sir. That'd do wonders for our passengers and clients. My thoughts exactly. Not to mention, having three companies working in unison would dramatically bolster our revenue. I'm guessing it's not a done deal yet, sir. You guess correct, Winston. I've merely put to them the offer. But they must be interested, or they wouldn't have agreed to preliminary discussions. When are those going to happen, sir? Next Thursday. Representatives from both companies will arrive here. Number 24 will deliver the Midland executives, and Edward, you'll bring in the directors from Sodor. Yes, sir. This all sounds very promising, sir. I agree. I'm very optimistic about our future. Any problems, Edward? No, sir. Neil arrived on time, and we departed likewise. And you made sure to give them a nice smooth ride? Of course, sir. I always do. Excellent. Where can I find them? Coach number 3. Right. Then I'd best get to work. Good luck, sir. Of course, I didn't think he really needed luck. After navigating through the throng of passengers departing from my train, Mr. Pettigrew met up with the Sodor and Mainland executives, who complimented him and myself on a very smooth ride. He then took the pair to meet the Midland representatives, who had arrived earlier that day. After pleasantries were exchanged and a delightful morning tea was enjoyed, Mr. Pettigrew began showing the envoy around the yard. He dazzled them with a lot of facts and figures, many of which I'm sure they'd heard before. But he also demonstrated the efficiency of the FR's engines and tantalized them with the prospect of sharing in our locally mined coal. This was surely a major point in favour of merging, as every rail company back then wanted their own cheap source of fuel. Things were going extremely well for our director, and it looked as if the visitors were primed to agree to the merger right then and there. That was when it happened. What was that? I'm not sure. Excuse me, gentlemen. Oh no. You daft kids can't handle a simple job.
Don't blame us! We warned you! What in blazes is going on? Mr. Pettigrew, these stupid twits tried to move a crate that was too heavy and lost control of it. I told them to get a trolley, but... Don't lie! You told us to carry it by hand. Put your backs into it, you lazy prats, you said. You little... Alright, shut it! Who's to blame isn't important right now. This man needs a hospital immediately.
I'm pleased to say the injured workman would make a full recovery, but I'm sorry to say that the fallout from this incident was very severe. An investigation was carried out and many workers were questioned, and practically all of them blamed the incident on harsh working conditions. This of course meant the unions got involved. A strike was quickly arranged and the FR's manpower was halved overnight. Despite his best efforts, Mr. Pettigrew struggled to reach an agreement with the unions. And unfortunately, any agreement he hoped to make with the visiting executives went up in smoke. I now realize how fitting that metaphor was, because even if the executives had stuck around, there was no chance they would have agreed to a merger given what would happen next.
Bust my buffers! Albert, what have you done to the yard? Me? Why do you assume this is my fault? Because you're the shunter. You're supposed to keep things in order. How in fizzling fireboxes did you manage to put one of my coaches in between two trucks? I didn't do that. Well, you did give me the wrong vans for delivery to Barrow. I took them all the way there, only to bring them all the way back. Hey, those were the vans the yardmaster told me to shunt. The acting yardmaster, you mean? Exactly. In case you haven't noticed, we don't have the usual staff, so things are going to get stuffed about a bit. You call this a bit? I call it as not being my fault the lads have gone on strike. You still think trade unions are a good idea, Winston? What are you jumping on me for, Edward? I'm on your side. Oh, so we're taking sides, are we? Fine, I'll shunt this lot. See? I'm doing it. You happy, Edward? I'll get this yard sorted. Just you wait. Humph, that'll be the day. Albert, what are you doing? What do you mean? I'm bringing in these trucks so they can be loaded. I said take them to track 2. No, you said track 1. I said track 2. Now get them over there. Should we straighten up that top crate? Probably. But we'll need 2 others to help move it, and we're running behind as it is. What if the foreman finds out? He'll probably say good job for not wasting time. Come on, it'll be all right. Bust my buffers! This would be how this day ends. What was that? The legs on that crane must have been damaged. Look! It's cracking! And if it falls back onto that fuel tank... Leg it! I sometimes wonder if the lucky lamp had ever been on the Furness Railway, because it could only be luck that the fire caused by the exploding fuel tank
was contained and extinguished by a sudden downpour. Albert and the workmen were able to get clear, so thankfully no one was hurt. However, the damage was done. A swift and savage investigation by the Railway Board followed. In their judgment, negligence was the cause of the accident, and we were slapped with a substantial fine that crippled our finances. Despite our best efforts to carry on, by October of that year, the Furness Railway had to close. Albert felt incredibly guilty and blamed himself for the closure. Winston and I disagreed. We blamed ourselves for pushing him so hard. Mr. Pettigrew, however, blamed no one. That man was never capable of spite, as evident by the fact he had already found homes for the three of us. Albert went to work for the London, Brighton and South Coast Railway, which later became part of the Southern Railway. Winston was sold to the Great Eastern Railway, which would be absorbed into the LNER, and I would find myself on Sodor. The rest, as they say, is history. What happened to Mr. Pettigrew? He retired and lived to the ripe old age of 93, enjoying those final years with his grandchildren. Well, thank you for sharing, Edward.
Indeed. Smashing job. Really well told. But what's this lucky lamp you mentioned?
That's an interesting subject, Winston, but it's also a story for another day.
I do hate it when you say that, Edward.
Why do you think I say it so often?
Wait, what?